Brilliance Audio.
Black Foam by Haji Jabir, translated by Sawad Hussain and Marsha Links Quali, performed by Youssif Kamal. The car passed a shelter that had been readied for prayers, then continued down a winding, rutted dirt road with jutting rocks scattered on either side. The Cherokee's violent shaking and the howls of the skinny dog running alongside the car shattered Dawit's attempts to hold himself together. His gaze flitted everywhere as he tried to quickly familiarize himself with the landscape. Withered trees, stinking pools of water, broken down thatch houses with cracked mud brick steps. Children playing football, 2 leafless trees acting as the goalposts, women padding through the streets barefoot in short off-white smocks and tight robes, their babies bound to their backs. The car stopped at a reed shed that sat on wooden supports surrounded on all 4 sides by foot-high sandbags. Saba cut the engine and turned to Dawit, testing his readiness. He gave her a reassuring smile. 2 men came out to welcome Saba, inviting her inside. Dawit noticed for the second time how he became invisible in her presence. It didn't bother him. No, he hoped it would stay like that until his wish came true. Inside, he sat deliberately on the mud brick bench next to his companion. In front of them were 5 men, all wearing loose white robes. One by one, the eyes of these men turned toward Dawit, who remained rooted. The weight of their gazes took his breath away. He felt no relief until Saba spoke. "This is your son, the one I told you about. Dawit is the son of Rachel and Elias, and God has restored him to you after a long absence so that he could fulfill his true destiny, and so the breeze of relief can cool his parents' souls in the kingdom of heaven. It has been confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is the one you seek." Saba continued in a confident tone, reeling off evidence based on her long relationship with Elias, Dawit's father, who had come to sell ghee and so spent some days at her Abyssinia hotel. He had told her all about what he was doing and how his family in Mekele were, until she felt she knew all the corners of his life. Although Elias had spent his final days in this very camp in Gondar where Dawit was now sitting, no one really knew him as deeply as Saba had. As she spoke, Dawit observed the effect her speech had on her listeners out of the corner of his eye, watching how their gazes shifted between her and him. Saba's enthusiasm reminded him of their first meeting when he had just arrived in Gondar, exhausted, after walking all the way from Endabaguna. He'd headed straight for the camp and tried to enter, but to no avail, so he went on wandering, and his thirst nearly finished him off. He found himself in front of the bleak-looking Abyssinia Hotel. His sore feet could barely hold him up. His forehead was smeared with a wound's coagulated blood, and his shabby clothes were held up by a strap, from which hung an empty water bottle. As he passed the time-worn 2-story brown building, he found a woman at the entrance. She was in her 50s with light brown skin, her hair braided in delicate strands that fell to her shoulders and brushed the left side of her lips, which were covered in warts of varying sizes. She didn't notice him at first, since she was sitting behind a wooden table, busy turning the pages of a large blue notebook. He stared at her, broken, and waited for her attention. When she lifted her head, she was unsurprised by his presence, as if she had always seen him. He wanted to speak, but he hesitated when she went right back to her blue notebook with the same indifference as when she'd raised her head to look at him.